All right, I have Michael Glaspie with me. Michael is running for mayor of Arlington. Michael, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure, Chris. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, it's our
Especially
pleasure.
under these circumstances, this is probably one of the nicer meetings in that
Yeah, a little,
I can get there easily.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, a little lower impact there. So,
Right.
so are you ready to begin?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, your first question. Please introduce yourself to the voters of Arlington. How long have you lived here? What is your occupation? And what notable experience do you have serving our community? This will be a 3-minute response.
Okay. First of all, my name is Michael Glaspie, and my wife and I have lived here. In fact, we're approaching 40 years living here in Arlington. We moved here from Central Texas. I was working for IBM at the time, so I was in the midst of my career. And one thing we did, we took a look at the cities here in the Metroplex. There were some things that we were interested in seeing in the place that we ultimately decided to live. And Arlington either came out at the top or very near the top of all of those. And so once we got settled here, I'm naturally inclined to serve. I'm a Vietnam veteran, so I've served our country, and service is really a part of my family. For example, my parents spent lengthy careers teaching here in the state. And so I ultimately ended up getting involved in a number of things. I was on the Decades 90s Futures Committee for the Arlington Independent School District, in which they defined what their facilities needs would be for the next 10 years during the 90s.
Mhm.
I was chair of the Information Technology subcommittee in that particular group. And after that, I got so involved in and acquainted with the operations of the school district that I was encouraged to run for school board, and I ran for school board and was elected there. So a number of years I was on the school board serving, in fact, president, vice president, secretary, assistant secretary. And we were able to do a number of things during the course of that. We started an international baccalaureate program. In fact, the largest bond package that had been made available to the public was passed during the time I was president at that particular point in time, that allowed us to make a number of critical renovations to schools, as well as building some other schools so that we could deal with the capacity, because at that particular time, we were one of the fastest growing school districts in the state, as well as around the country, probably. Then toward the end of that, I ended up running for city council, ended up in runoff, didn't win that time, but won city council position at large in 2012 and had a chance to serve on the city council. Done a number of things. We've grown, for example, about, I think we had about $4 billion worth of it, economic development during the course of that time. I was a mayor pro tem, and we've really done a whole lot as a city during the course of the time I was under their council. Mm-hmm.
Okay, your next question, and this one's pretty straightforward. Why are you running for office? 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm running for office. There are a number of things that you could say about it, but I think the bottom line is, I love the city. I have a great passion for the city. It's been good to my family and me, and it's been one of those things where I've gotten to know so many people across. I've built relationships in so many different sectors of our community: healthcare, the business community, the education community, nonprofits, even in Tarrant County. And on top of that, I have the experience of being on the city council for 7 years, which gave me a great idea of how the city operated. So it would put me in a position where I believe day one, nothing would slow down. We'd be able to keep things in sync and keep focused on doing all we can to make Arlington the greatest city possible. There are, of course, a number of things that are particularly of interest to me. Is, first of all, I guess the number one thing is we always have to make sure that we live in a safe community. So I would be focused on ensuring that our police, our firemen have the best possible equipment, tools, the understand the best practices to see what implications those might have for Arlington so that we can continue to provide better and better safety services in our community. And then also there are a number of infrastructure concerns I have. We've been dealing with flooding. I think it was highlighted by what we just went through with inclement weather. So want to assure that we have everything in place so that we are positioned to minimize the impacts of anything that goes on in our city. And of course, economic development. I always want to continue to make sure our economy is expanding so that people have great jobs. Oh, you, okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for your next question?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. What are your top 3 priorities for stimulating small business activity and entrepreneurship in Arlington? This will be a 2-minute response.
Okay. You said top 3 or top
Right.
2? Okay. Now, I think first of all, you want to make sure that we have one of the things that I've heard over time and recently had a chance to visit, there are still some concerns about the efficiency between which small businesses and our city can work. So one of the things I would do is assure that we are doing all we can to make it as easy as possible for our small businesses to work with our city so that anything that they need done can quickly be done. One of the things I also like to do is establish something like a small business advisory council to make sure that not only we're addressing the things that we may have right in front of us now, but also have a chance to take a strategic look at what issues or concerns we might have. And then also want to make sure that whatever federal resources might be available to assist small businesses in their operations, that we are fully aware of those and work very closely with our businesses to assure that they get all the funding, all the support that they can get to make their businesses what they would desire to be. We have this label, this tagline we have for our city, Arlington, the American Dream City. We can only be successful as particularly our small businesses live out their dreams, because you provide so many of the jobs, you provide our citizens with places with products and services that they can fully capitalize on. So I think it's imperative that we make sure that everything that we can do, we do to support small business.
Thank you. Okay, your next question. How should the city most effectively leverage the tools provided by the newly created Economic Development Corporation? And this will be 2 minutes as well.
I think the one thing that we need to clearly do is define what opportunities may provide the best return to our community economically, and then assure that we have identified how best to capitalize on the resources we have available. For example, the funds we might have available. How can we use those so that a business would have a chance to fully implement and do the things that they feel are important for them to be successful? It's critical for us to work very closely with the small business community so that they can give input and insight as to what they feel are the critical elements. You know, again, I go back to, I mentioned that having something like a small business advisory council, so that as we recognize and identify the resources that we do have, we're able then to directly utilize those resources in assuring that our small businesses are successful in what they desire to do. And we may be able to do other things, such as set up like small business incubators to help them identify what what resources they might need or what approaches they may want to take, and assuring that they're fully successful. So I think it's really critical to take a close look at the needs of the small business community, and then tie them very closely to the resources that we have to make sure that those things that are being used are fully capitalized on.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Arlington at times has received negative attention due to issues with permitting, inspection, and issuance of certificates of occupancy. What will you do as mayor to build public confidence that Arlington is truly a great place to do business? And this will be 2 minutes as well.
Okay. I think one of the things that we have to do is have those issues and concerns clearly articulated and identified, and sit down with staff to go. In fact, probably a good thing to do would be to have a group identify the concerns that they have. Take those concerns, sit down with staff, and understand exactly how we can deal with those, so that it alleviates the concern that small businesses have. I was visiting with a businessman the other day who was indicating that as long as he's been doing business with the city of Arlington, he ends up having to go through the same series of tasks, when in reality, maybe half of them are things that really have been defined in how he's been doing business over time. So why have to go through all those? So I think what we need to do is take a look and see where the ordinances or guidelines we have in place, are they relevant at this particular point in time? Do they have meaning and purpose at this particular point in time? Because if it's something that's really not necessary, then it's real easy for us to get into this habit of doing things because we've done them traditionally. But the question is, are they really critical to the success of what a person is trying to do? So I would look very closely after getting input from those who are most concerned about it, and trying to define the best ways we can make sure that we're operating as efficiently and effectively as possible.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question. Arlington is running out of land. What are your plans to revitalize and renew older areas of the city, particularly East Arlington? And this will be 2 minutes as well.
Well, I think it goes back to the old thing of best use. What is the best use of the land? So I think it's critical, for example, for Economic Development Department to clearly have guidelines to define what we potentially could do in a particular area, and get input from those who may be who would be impacted by it, to assure that whatever it is we decide to do, it would be the best thing for that area. Now, instead of saying it will be sensible for that area, because when you stop to think, typically we have a number of options, and some can be as good as others, but the bottom line is, what is the most effective thing to do at that particular point in time? And then we need to ensure that we've identified any resources that might be necessary to impact that going in the right direction, because just because something looks like it ought to be done here doesn't necessarily mean that everything is in place so that it can happen. So we need to identify if there are any resources that we can help influence it in the right direction after we've clearly gotten the input necessary to assure that we understand what the best options are, and then what option it looks like makes the most sense at that particular point in time.
Thank you. Okay, next question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
Well, no, it was just, don't worry about it.
No, please, go ahead. That was my fault.
I guess the one thing, there's so many, so many potential things that you can do with a particular area, but we have to take under consideration the viability of it at that particular point in time, and also the long-term impact of what we're doing. There's a tendency to look at what may be a good solution at a particular moment, but not necessarily reflect on the long-term implications. So we really need to make a very well thought out decision on how best to capitalize it. Because as you said, we run out of land.
Right. My apologies if I interrupted you there.
Well, actually, I had just about finished. Another thought occurred to me. So my apologies. Really.
No, you're good. Okay, next question. What is your vision for the special relationship between the city government and the University of Texas at Arlington? This will be 2 minutes as well.
Okay. I think we in a way, I guess you could say we have this jewel in the University of Texas at Arlington. Think about it. Not many major cities have a university that, research university, one that can deliver, first of all, potential employees. Because one of the things you want to do is have an environment where you have good jobs. In fact, as much as possible, take advantage of technology and technological jobs. It's great to have a resource where you're able to support those. Then all the research, for example, the design center that's been set up at the city, it does two things. One, it helps the citizens who are trying to understand how they might approach doing something, but at the same time, it gives students at UTA practical exposure, practical experience in the things that they've been learning in the classroom. In theory, they're actually able to use them. So to me, we should continue to get closer and closer together and look at ourselves as true partners in this, particularly the whole idea of expanding and enhancing our economic environment so that we can attract businesses. Because if we're looking at a company, particularly say a high-tech company that may be interested in coming into Arlington, it needs to see that UTA and the city of Arlington and our community in total are in sync, and we have everything necessary for them to be successful here. So we have to continue to build on that close relationship.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is, what sort of policies might you pursue, if any, to promote social justice, equity, and inclusion in our community? This will be 2 minutes.
Okay. I think I was, as a part of the Unity Council, we just went through and took a close look. In fact, we split it into 5 specific areas that we were looking into. And I think what we need to do is work with the entirety of our community so that we can understand what issues we may need to specifically focus on, because change, in order for change to come about, it has to be intentional. We cannot take just a casual attitude about it. One of the things, to me, we're blessed here in Arlington. In fact, we're the supposedly 11th most diverse city of the 100 largest cities in the country. So it just seems that we should really want to capitalize on our diversity. And we do a good job, I think, of respecting each other and working with each other, but we haven't completely embraced each other yet. And I think one of the things that the recommendations from the Unity Council will help drive some of this. But one of the things that we need to do is come together to understand clearly how much we can help each other. We can make each other as good as we are. Working together, we can make each other even better. It becomes a thing where economically we could benefit. Socially, we get a chance to expand ourselves and realize that we live in an area in which our experiences can be much larger than they are and much more fulfilling. In fact, one of the things I would like to do eventually is see if we can put together some sort of annual celebration where we celebrate our diversity and get a chance to look even closer at who we are and how potentially we can become a part of each other so that it's a seamless one community instead of segments.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. What initiatives will you pursue, if any, to address homelessness and poverty in Arlington? This will also be 2 minutes.
I think one of the things that we of course should focus on is creating jobs for people who need jobs. We should also provide the services, what services we can to get people through the challenging circumstances that they're under. And one of the things I think we need to make a priority of and stay focused on is our youth, because we don't want our youth to grow up who might be in that particular environment and end up caught in the same thing themselves, but give them a chance to see that their life is much bigger and there's much more opportunity that they're able to capitalize on if they stay focused on it. And I think that the city, the school district, a lot of our nonprofits, we need to work together to assure that the resources that we do have available to help are there. And in addition, work with our homeless, work with those who are in poverty to provide resources necessary for them, but at the same time provide them an opportunity to see that there's a way out and that there's hope, and that they should not just find themselves locked in and act and feel as though that there's no hope for them to get out of it. And I think it's incumbent upon us as a community to continue to do everything that we can to show that there is opportunity if we help them get equipped to fully capitalize on those opportunities. We cannot just throw our hands up and say that those who are in poverty, that's it. We need to make sure that we provide the food that we can, as well as opportunities. You're on mute again.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, this is the final question, and it'll be a 3-minute response. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. What will make you a better mayor than your competitors?
That's the question?
That's the question. Straightforward, right?
Okay, yeah. Well, personally, I think it goes back to some of the things I alluded to at the start. I have had the benefit of a great deal of involvement in our city as well as school governance. So I understand how the city operates. I understand how the school district operates. I've been heavily involved in nonprofits across the city. I've been involved in county affairs because, as I mentioned, I was a part of the Tarrant Appraisal District Board, as well as a Senior Citizens Board of Tarrant County. And so 2 things. One, I have experience in governance and how the city operates. I have relationships with those who are in the city. So I feel that from day one, there will be no slowdown. We will continue to move forward and make Arlington the best place possible to live. Coupled with the fact I've had an opportunity to get to know people across the city, so I would be able to tap into resources, be able to pull our city together, because we occasionally have these issues that we have to deal with that are unique and different, and be able to identify who we should have at the table. And in fact, I would like, as time permits, to begin to identify key segments of the city and have them on an ongoing basis to indicate exactly what their concerns may be. So in a lot of cases, we can get ahead of things instead of letting problems just crop up on us. But the bottom line on the whole thing, I'm experienced. I love the city. I know a lot about what's going on. I have a sensitivity to what the key issues are in the city. And I would love to serve our city again and continue to move us in the direction of being the absolute best place that we can be. There are a number of things that we are trying to ultimately resolve how we're going to deal with. For example, transportation. You know, I've been involved in looking at, in fact, what we're doing now with VIA. I was there when we set up the Transportation Advisory Board, got those recommendations, understand where we are and how we might be able to take advantage of new technologies as they're coming down the road. Because in effect, we want to be able to move people efficiently and effectively around our city as well as around the region. And I think that I'm the person that can keep us on the right track.
Got my microphone off that time before I said it.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and best of luck on your campaign.
Thank you. I appreciate you setting it up like this. This was very interesting.
Yes, our pleasure.
Yeah, you have a great day now.
You too.